Hey, 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 hope you're having an amazing day. Cutie's Creations here with another message on restitution. So, we have talked about education and we have talked about healthcare with the focus on mental health. And we're going to revisit all of those things from a different angle soon. But now we are on the judicial. Now, this part is so big and so broad, so we're going to take it on a timeline from like where we came from with the laws to the present day, and then we'll get into some of those laws and everything or whatever. But the ask for the restitution is always going to be $2.9 million. Education, free education, and quality education, mental health, healthcare with the focus, free healthcare with the focus on mental health, and then judicial reform, where they start to make laws that aren't against us, but for everyone in the land. I'm not a proponent of us escaping the law or anything like that. As a matter of fact, I really like that we are in a land of laws, because that lets me know that we can change things. And we have changed things, but we need to do more. There is a lot of work to be done with our laws. There's a lot of work to be done in our judicial system, in our education system, in our healthcare system. And that's the reason, and financial literacy, so we can keep the money and live prosperous. So all of these things kind of go into each other. And as we start to learn, we start to grow. And you know, I'm all about growth and elevation. But what we need to do now is level that playing field. The playing field hasn't been leveled for us. We are fighting against the 8 ball. It's like we are fighting with our hands tied behind our backs. And we are making strides even with that hand tied behind our back. So good for us. Like when you have to grow through a situation, I always say grow through, but go through. But when you grow through a situation, growth happens when there's adversity. So we have had some adverse times, but in the midst of that, we are that lotus flower. We are growing up through that swamp. We are overcoming all these things. We are alchemizing this energy to make sure that we have a better way. And when you're alchemizing energy, that means that you are allowing that energy to come in and seeing what you can take from it to harness you into something else. It's the lemonade whole thing, where someone gives you lemons and you make lemonade. This is our whole journey here in this country. So I am not happy for the struggles that we have faced. And we will, once we level this playing field, we will address the issues of the land with all the nationalities in here, including the people who came as the colonizers and everything, because they're suffering too. There is no healing without the collective. If we aren't healing one another and healing the other side as well, we're doomed to see the same thing over and over again. So if there is someone that's causing you harm, most likely they have been harmed. And in that pain, they are trying to figure out a way to stop that bleeding. Now, their pathway has been in the past, they have chosen to harm others, but that doesn't mean that they don't deserve redemption. Like I said, if you don't feel connected to everyone around you, then that is a problem. So I know this seems like this is cornered towards African Americans, and it is. It is cornered towards my people, as in this color of my skin, but it is not cornered to make sure that other people don't prosper. Everyone should prosper in this atmosphere, and let me tell you something, they have. But that's the reason why we're doing the judicial reform part of this, because we're a land of laws. And these laws were skewed against us. But that doesn't mean that we want to leave others behind. We want them to come with us. We want them to heal with us. We want to heal the land. I always believe that, and I never say this in my videos, but I'm going to start saying it, is that our whole being is in the land. We all share this land, and The heartbeat is when you're closer to the heartbeat, you're closer to the land. That's the reason for a lot of people going vegan and everything, but that's a whole other subject. We're going to get into that when we go back to the health. We're going to revisit that, but that is the whole reason for it, because the closer you are to the heartbeat, the more you will understand. The further away from it, the less you understand. It's not that God has made anything that is in a chemical form that you can't have, because every single thing on this earth is of God. So they're only working from the tools He has given us. But the more you take it away from the actual land, it is something that can be harmful to you, and not just in the ways of your body, because your body is one part of you. Your soul is much more important than this vessel, but you have to take care of the vessel while you are here. And taking care of the vessel while you are here is making sure you're closer to that heartbeat. So fruits and vegetables and everything make more sense because that is closer to the heartbeat. The more you process things, that's taking you away from that heartbeat. When they process food and everything, it's in its original form. It's gone through 3, 4, 5 different forms before it arrives to you. And that's not closer to the heartbeat. When you are closer to the land in which you are made of, there's not one thing that's of this land, not one material that doesn't live inside of your body. Zinc, iron, all these things, all these materials that God is so beautiful that He's made for us. So we have to figure out ways to be able to bring it back to what's the most natural, what's going to feed us in the best way possible. So I am on this journey with you to this discovery of finding out what's best for you health-wise, finding out what's best for you spiritually, finding out what's best for you financially, finding out what's best for you with the knowledge that you have, finding out these things so you can be able to live a happier, healthier life. And that's what I want for all of us. But we have to be honest that this playing field that we have been on has not been leveled. It is skewed against us. And we have to make sure that we balance those scales. And how I see us balancing these scales is just one point of view. It could be multiple people who can come and be like, after me, and be like, well, we got to balance the scales here. We have to balance the scales there. Because I took a really long time thinking about it, because I didn't want to take out the environment, because the environment is so important and everything. But that's something we share all together. So once I get this done, maybe that's where we'll start tackling from that point of view of the environment. But right now, our focus, my focus, is to make sure that every African American man, woman, and child get $2.9 million. Judicial reform, that the laws are changed to not harm us. Financial literacy, so we can know what to do with our money when we actually get it. And education, quality education, so we can have the knowledge to be able to not form these alliances with things that are harmful for us not to have ideas that will be self-destructive to us after this time, after we get all these really great things. And also the health, with the focus on mental health, because your thoughts become words and they become things around you. And when you don't have a healthy mental space, you will be harmful to yourself and to others, and that's not living a healthy and happier life. You can't live in happiness you shouldn't live in happiness while other people are living in squalor. So that's where we are. We're getting ready to get into judicial reform. It is a very long and tiresome subject, but it also has so many beautiful sides to it, because by this being the laws, by the laws being what runs the land, and you can actually change it. Law is ever changing. So that's what's so beautiful about it, that the very thing that came to harm you, you can now use to elevate you out of that situation. So we are going to go and really expand on this idea of voting, on this idea of getting more involved, on this idea of making sure that we are going and doing the very best we possibly can to protect ourselves while we are here on this land, while we are here on this earth, and while we are inhabiting it with others, and how can we do no harm. So I digress. Let's get into this judicial reform. So, of course, I have a timeline. So the colonial era, and that was the 1600s to about the 1770s. So early American laws was based in England common law, with colonies adapting legal systems to local needs. Some, like Virginia, followed English precedents closely, while others, such as Massachusetts, incorporated religious principles. So remember, around this timeline, if you've been following me since the beginning of this whole thing, we have been really going on this timeline since the birth of America to now. And that birth of America brought us in on a whole nother playing field and everything. And when they started to take the land from the indigenous people, they start to institute laws so they can keep the land and govern it with safety and everything and freedom and all of these things that they were excluding from some people, but their ideas were good. Yes, you want freedom. Yes, you want liberty. Yes, you want a better life. So when they started to go from it, remember we talked about how law was, well, the very first thing in this land wasn't the laws, it was religion. So in Massachusetts, when they were doing these things that followed like the Bible, that was really great and everything, but not everybody believes in that. So, and they were indoctrinating all the slaves with this because the church was the highest law of the land. There was nobody outside of that. And when they made the Constitution, which was years and years and years later, they decided to put in there to separate church and state, which was really smart because not everybody that inhabited the land believed in the same thing, but they also believed that they should still be able to have the same freedoms. So now, how this is incorporated with us being here. The colonial era, 1600 to about 1776. Early colonial laws certified racial hierarchies, particularly through slavery. Enslaved Africans were denied legal rights, while indigenous tribes faced land dispossession under European legal doctrines like the Doctrine of Discovery. Some colonies, such as Virginia, passed slave codes that institutionalized racial subjections. So, in this time, there was multiple moving parts. So they not only brought us over to create these industries and make the world what it is now, but they were also removing the indigenous people that were here, and they were creating laws around their land to take it from them. So they were saying, like, and it even still stands that possession is 9/10 of the law, so they can be able to possess what you have. If I go there and I make myself home on this land, then that land is now my own. And that's why I don't want to get too far in the weeds of the racial part of it and everything, because there were so many people who had suffered at the hands of the colonizers, but we also grew from that point, and we all now live on this land, and some of us live happily and some of us don't. It is up to us to keep trying for a better future. It is up to us to keep trying for a more perfect union. And the best way to do that is through the laws. These laws were created to suffocate us, to take our freedoms, to take our liberties. And then now this day and age, now that we fought and we were able to change these laws and we were able to make things a lot better for a lot of people here. We ended up making things better for the Indigenous people by our fight. We made sure that children were included in that. So we made sure that there was laws around children and abuse and everything because of our fight. Because of our fight, we got Social Security. Because of our fight, we got women's rights. All of these things came from our fight, from us standing up. So if you feel like you are weak, no, your lineage is strong, because we've done things in the way that we've done it and how we moved. We were able to move mountains for others. And we will continue to do that because we want a more perfect union. We want a better reality for everyone. And as we go into that new future, we want to make sure that we are capturing these things the way they should be and not just from one point of view. We cannot afford to skew history and to just add value to ourselves. We need to put it on as it is, the good, the bad, and the ugly. There were Black people that came over. First and foremost, at that time, there were Africans that owned slaves. Slavery was throughout the world. It was in a different definition of it, where it was more so like if you captured somebody and that you were at war with, then all the people became slaves until they worked off what was due to the new person that was actually owning the land, and then you became a free person. That wasn't allotted to us with the slavery that was here. So that's the reason why they look upon it so differently than the rest of the world, because everybody had a different way of looking at slavery. But make no mistake that everyone at the time had slaves. There was the Asian continent had slaves, the African continent had slaves. When a lot of the slaves came over from Africa, they were still being owned by Africans. They weren't selling people. They were actually selling the slaves that they already had. It wasn't until they found out what it was that they were doing in America, when they actually came here themselves, that they were like, okay, we don't want to do that anymore. But that didn't get abolished in certain parts of Africa till our recent years, until the 1900s. So they didn't see an ending of slavery for a very long time. And then in Asia, there's still parts of Asia that still has those type of laws in place. So we have to be cognizant and really tell the history the way it is, because we look at it a certain way, and once we look at it a certain way, it puts a hate in your heart, and it should always be about love. But I don't want to get too far in the weeds of all of that. I want to thank you for your time and your energy, and I really, truly appreciate you. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment down below, and let me know what you thought of this subject. And we're going to really dive in tomorrow with more on the judicial, and I hope to see you there. Thank you so much for being here.